very special guest. We have Mrs. Beryl Crust.
Oh dear, hello. I'm a bit breathless. I was actually in the ladies when young Benjamin started to introduce me. I was powdering my nose. Actually, come to think of it, that's a silly euphemism, isn't it? I mean, what I was doing had nothing to do with powder, and it was a long way from my nose. But we don't want to go into that, do we? So, look, it is really, really wonderful to be here tonight to support our volunteer firefighters. So well done, all you fellas and girls. That's lovely. This is not the first time I've actually supported firefighters. And in the old days, I used to do it one at a time, you know. Actually, I was thinking, it was a long time ago, a few years ago, I was having a shandy with my cousin John at a country hotel up the Derwent Valley, and the village fire siren sounded. And John leapt up from his beer and he said, "Oh, pardon me, Beryl, I've got to go." I said, "I didn't know you were a volunteer firefighter, John." He said, "I'm not. My girlfriend's husband is." Anyway, things have changed. I mean, these days that wouldn't happen, would it? Not at all. Because nowadays we have women firefighters, and I think that's just wonderful. It wouldn't have happened in my day, of course. When I left school, there were probably only 3 career choices for girls our age. We could go into retail, either goods or services. And there are a lot more services than hairdressing, let me tell you that, girls. Or we could go into school teaching, or we could go into nursing. Now, my very best friend Joan, we were at school all the way from primary school, all the way through, we decided we'd go into nursing, and we had a lovely time. It was really lots and lots of fun, but Joan was so naughty, ladies and gentlemen. Joan used to invite boys back to the nurses' home, and it was forbidden, of course, and if matron ever found a boy in our room, she would go ballistic. She'd get those boys and she'd confiscate them, take them all the way back to her own room for a good dressing down. Or as Joan said, a good undressing. She was a real terror, that Joan. You know, she used to say, she'd say, "Beryl, do you know the difference between a nurse and a fireman's ladder?" And I'd say, "No." And she'd say, "Not everybody's been up a fireman's ladder." And I still don't know what she was getting at. I really, and she had another one, something about a nurse and a bowling ball, and apparently you can only get 3 fingers. Oh, look, it doesn't matter. She was really, really, really very, very wicked. But as wicked as she was, she has been my very best friend right through life, as she is today. We're still firm friends. It's just lovely. And actually, we've been each other's bridesmaids. And Joan was with me for the birth of our first, young Jennifer. Actually, come to think of it, Joan was there for the conception of Jennifer as well. Yes, she was in the front seat. We'd actually gone to Elwick to the drive-in theatre, and Joan and Trevor were in the front seat, and Bart and I, that's my late husband Bartholomew, Bart for short, he was short in lots of directions, except he was quite large around the middle. He was big tummy, you know. I used to call him my middle man, because that's all he was, middle. Anyway, in fact, one day I said to Bart, "You know, Bart, if that gut were on a woman, she'd be pregnant." He said, "Listen, Beryl, it has been, and she is." And he was right, because I was, you know. Well, you know, I told you we're at the drive-in. Well, it happened that night. We'd gone to see Clark Gable and Vivian Leigh in Gone with the Wind. But I don't remember very much about the film, actually. I got home that night and my mother said, "What was it all about, Beryl?" And I had to make up some cock and bull story about this man who disappeared mysteriously after a severe bout of flatulence. Gone with the wind. I don't think she believed me, actually. And it wasn't all that long after, 2 or 3, 4 weeks maybe, I started to get morning sickness. Mummy thought there was something wrong. I said, "No, Mummy, it's just wind." And she said, "Beryl, I think there's a bit more responsible for your condition than just a bicycle pump." Anyway, she was right, and Bart and I did get married in a bit of a hurry, but we had almost 50 years years of wonderful, happy married life. Quite lovely, really, and two beautiful children. But look, we're not here to speak about me tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to launch my soon-to-be-released best-selling book, The Joys of Bowls. Now, The Joys of Bowls is based on this other favourite book of mine from my childhood, The Joys of Sex, of course, except my book is set mainly outside. Now, The Joys of Sex, of course, was a very favourite book. I love the theory, and I didn't mind the practical, although I always found sex a bit of a messy business, you know, but Bart seemed to like it a lot, and sadly, sex raised its ugly head once too often for Bart. Yes, I'm sure he would have preferred to go that way, but he didn't have much choice. And we did have two beautiful children. We had Jennifer, as I mentioned, and Melvin, and I parented using my maternal instincts, my intuition, but Bart, for his parenting, relied on Bill Cosby's fatherhood. Which I believe is soon to be re-released, reprinted, with its new title. Let me have a look here. Its new title is, oh, that's right, it's The Joys of The Joys of Rooting Your Reputation. That's the one. Now, there is a slight crossover between my book, The Joys of Bowls, and The Joys of Sex, and this is something, ladies and gentlemen, you won't find in my book, but I'm going to share it with you tonight. It's just amongst ourselves here at the Polish Club, and I don't want you to tell anybody else, but I was actually conceived on a bowling rink. Ooh. 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 To be absolutely, perfectly honest, it was the Sandy Bay Bowls Club. and my mummy was always saying that when she was conceived with me, she said the angels were smiling down upon them. Well, I found out, ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't the angels smiling down, it was the bloody Johnsons who had the two-storey unit just there by the Sandy Bay Bowls Club. So isn't it funny, like when I was conceived, the Johnsons were smiling down, probably because of some sort of entertainment, because it was pre-television. And when Jennifer was conceived, there was my best friend Joan smiling down voyeuristically from the front seat of the Zephyr. And you know how things are cyclic in Tasmanian family traditions? Well, I often wonder who will be smiling down on Jennifer when she loses her virginity, which must happen any day soon now because she'll be 46 in April. Anyway, I thought I'd give you a very quick sneak preview of my book, The Joys of Bowls, and there's lots of them. Here we go. There we are. The Joys of Bowls. Over here we've got Joy Appleby, and Joy Baskerville, and Joy Cullinswood, and there's lots of other interesting characters in my book. One of them you'll really love is Joy Chow Lin. She sort of gets her bias a bit wrong and her bowls go sideways, but that's another story. I'm not sure what that's all about. But ladies and gentlemen, that's me for now. So look out for my new book, won't you, in a bookstore near you. It should be out for Christmas in the sports section. And if you're ever looking for me, gentlemen, I hang around in good bookshops in the erotica section, okay? But for now, I'm going to hand you back to young Benjamin, and very soon I'll be able to declare the bar officially opened for interval. Thank you. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, Beryl Crust. And that is the first half. And I'd just like you, while you're in a clapping mood, to thank all the acts you've seen so far. We saw Steve McNee, we saw Annie Harvey, we saw Rick Goddard, we saw Pierre Joubert, we saw Ms. Beryl Crust. Make sure that when you go and see a flyer, you buy them a drink. They'll be very grateful. And they're very handsome, all of them, despite what you've heard tonight. Don't forget there's the change box up there for you.